Now, from WYDC TV, this is Big Fox News at 10.
We begin tonight in Steuben County, which is now reporting a few breakthrough cases of COVID-19. This comes as cases continue to rise through the southern tier. Big Fox's Matt Kleindent spoke with the county's health director and joins us from Corning.
Good evening, Scott. Since the start of the county's vaccination drive, over 50 people have experienced breakthrough cases. However, that number remains quite low compared to the total number of vaccinated individuals.
That's the purpose of vaccines.
As COVID cases continue to rise throughout the state, Steuben County is reporting a few breakthrough cases. As of today, about 57 people who have been vaccinated have contracted the virus. However, as Health Director Darlene Smith points out, that's out of nearly 41,000 people who have been vaccinated in the county.
So that's really comes out to be less than 0.25%.
Smith says that while those people experienced COVID symptoms, none of them required hospitalization and none of them died. She says that proves that the COVID vaccines work.
The success rate with the vaccine has just been incredible so far. And as I said, there of course still can be a breakthrough case, but it is not leading to serious illness or hospitalization.
Smith continues to urge unvaccinated residents to get vaccinated as soon as possible as COVID cases continue trending upward.
Take advantage of the 3 different vaccines that are available within the community, and we continue to offer vaccination clinics on a regular basis.
At this time, the Delta variant has not been found in any positive test in Steuben County. Matt Kleindent, Big Fox, WYDC in Corning.
The Food Bank of the Southern Tier is reinstituting its indoor mask mandates regardless of vaccination status. The announcement comes as Chemung County crossed the CDC threshold of having a substantial spread of COVID-19. David Patterson says this move is meant to protect all workers who help provide food to the community.
Protecting our staff during this pandemic has been, and continues to be the most important thing that we can do. Without them, we can't get out, food to over 18,000 food insecure people each week.
There are currently 32 known active COVID cases in Chemung County. It is the back-to-school shopping season, and the National Retail Federation is expecting record spending, though so far, retailers aren't seeing it. They blame concerns about the COVID-19 Delta variant as well as supply chain issues. Vanessa Yurkovich reports.
Calculators, colored pencils, graph paper.
These school supplies are being bundled and sent to children in need. But the items here are on most kids' back-to-school list. And this month is peak shopping season, one expected to break records.
We're expecting record-breaking spending for both back to school and college this year.
Parents are projected to spend $37 billion this year, up $3 billion from last year and the highest in a decade.
A lot of this is centered around families and students expecting classes to take place in person, and they're spending more because of that.
Okay. But not at Neely's in Los Angeles. Owner Gerald Neely is celebrating 50 years in business, but not record-breaking sales.
I just haven't seen it yet.
And according to a new report, 56% of Americans plan to cut back on spending because of COVID, with 64% of consumers saying they're now very concerned about the virus, a 25% jump in the last month.
There's a lot of uncertainty right now. What would normally be our busy time of the year has been sort of busy.
And then there's supply chain slowdowns.
I have an order right now where I can't fulfill it because my supplier doesn't have the product, that hasn't made it here from other countries. So that's money I'm losing.
And at Operation Backpack in New York City, they're short on backpacks.
This year, we need 15,000, and we're short upwards of 3,000.
These backpacks filled with supplies are going to New York City's most vulnerable, children living in shelters.
A pre-K backpack is like $45. A high school backpack can cost $150 or more. People who are struggling cannot afford that.
Federal aid has helped offset some of the pandemic's economic pain. About half of back-to-school shoppers are using stimulus checks or the child tax credit to pay for school supplies. But for many families, it's still not enough.
The fact that the students in our shelters will have one less thing to worry about. Where are they going to get their school supplies? That's all we want, is to alleviate that stress, alleviate that burden, so they can just be happy to go to school.
Days after United Airlines said it will require its 67,000 employees to get vaccinated or risk losing their jobs, other major airlines are going their own way, with Southwest, American Airlines, and Delta Airlines saying no to a vaccine mandate for their staff.
For our company, we're almost 75% vaccinated already.
Delta CEO explaining his position on Good Day New York.
We're going to continue to encourage it. I think there's some additional steps and measures we can take to get the vaccine rates even higher.
Should the airlines mandate it?
I think they should. I mean, we're talking about people's safety.
Some travelers say going forward they would choose United because the mandate makes them feel safer.
Price was the same and destination was the same. Absolutely.
Go with United?
I'd go with the vaccinated one.
But Clint Henderson, senior news editor with The Points Guy, says the mandate is not necessarily going to boost United's bottom line.
It's going to be good for some travelers who will appreciate what United is doing. But there's a lot of people out there who hate the idea of vaccine mandates, and they will book away from the airline that requires it.
And says Henderson, few travelers book flights based on corporate policy, basing their decision instead on price.
Whatever's cheapest, that doesn't matter to me.
As far as any airlines mandating vaccinations for passengers, well, airline industry experts think that is very unlikely, at least for now. In addition to not wanting to lose any customers, the airlines feel that enforcing such policies would be far too difficult and costly.
President Joe Biden pledges to lower prescription drug prices as part of his Build Back Better agenda. Speaking at the White House today, the president said costs for prescription drugs for American families could be significantly reduced if Medicare were allowed to negotiate drug prices.
As I've said before, the only thing Medicare is not allowed to negotiate are prices for prescription drugs. My plan gets rid of that prohibition. The proposal I made while I was running for president is that Medicare should negotiate drug prices across the board.
President Biden also announcing he was authorizing the FDA to import drugs from Canada and have the agency get generic drugs to consumers faster. The job market continued to improve last week despite uncertainty around the Delta variant. There were 375,000 new applications for unemployment benefits last week, down about 12,000. The number of continuing claims, those still receiving benefits, also declined to 2.8 million. Unemployment claims peaked in late March and early April of last year when there were millions of people applying for benefits. A new poll shows concern over rising inflation rates is growing. It comes as government data shows inflation is still spiking, although it did slow down last month. Madeline Rivera is in Washington speaking with lawmakers as Democrats push for more spending.
From the gas pump to the grocery store, people are feeling the pain of higher prices.
Usually I will see people order 5 packs of meats or so, but now it probably goes down to about 2 packs.
A new poll shows 86% of voters are worried about inflation. 86% blame the pandemic for the spikes, while 79% say the government's policies are at fault.
The inflation risk is going to continue to rise for sure.
The poll comes on the heels of a Labor Department report that shows prices went up by 5.4% last month compared with a year earlier. Wages are also going up as employers compete for workers, even though some critics say higher prices are eating into wage gains.
We do want to see sustained increases in wages to make sure that we have sustained increases in prices.
Still, President Biden believes the increases will be short-lived. On Wednesday, he announced several steps like addressing supply bottlenecks and increasing competition in agriculture to drive prices down. And he argues more investment is needed to keep up economic growth.
As the economy turns back on and as businesses are starting to move, as the demands start to change in the economy, that there will be transitory impacts.
The Senate has passed 2 packages totaling more than $4 trillion to advance the president's economic agenda. The last thing many Republicans say the country should do.
They have too many people staying at home, not at work, all by design. It is the American people who are going to suffer.
Government data released Thursday shows initial jobless claims fell to 375,000 last week, near a pandemic low. Another sign the labor market is gaining momentum. In Washington, Madeline Rivera, Fox News.
Postage might cost a little extra this holiday season. The U.S. Postal Service wants to increase the prices for a variety of services during the peak time. USPS says this would be a temporary rate adjustment to offset rising handling and delivery costs. The price hike would go into effect for priority mail and first-class package service October 3rd through December 26th. The Postal Regulatory Commission still has to approve the new rates. Still ahead tonight, it's been a big talker. Several celebs saying recently they don't bathe their entire bodies every day. But is that good for your body and skin? We'll hear answers from a dermatologist.
Here's your local stock market update from Big Fox. Now, your Twin Tiers forecast from Big Fox.
Tonight's Big Fox forecast is brought to you by William Mattar. Good evening, everyone. What a hot day it was, even though we did have a little bit of rain across our area. Still under a slight risk for severe weather, meaning that we could have damaging wind gusts, and we are expecting torrential rain as well, and enhanced risk down to our south. And so these thunderstorms could be pretty hefty as they move through, but the activity is starting to wind down. Just a few thunderstorms off to our east that will continue to move away, but don't put away the umbrella just yet. We still have rain chances tomorrow as a cold front will be driving through out ahead of it, where the moisture and the heat will reside. We are expecting showers and a few thunderstorms. Behind this front, it is going to feel a lot more comfortable, and that's what we're going to enjoy this weekend as high pressure builds in. Storm system moves away from our area, and that's going to leave us with cooler conditions as we head into the weekend. So our dew points right now still in the 70s. They will stay in the 70s through much of the day on Friday. By the end of the day, though, drier air will start to move in on Saturday and Sunday. Our dew points will only be in the 50s. The lower the dew point, the drier the air mass, and with that lower dew point, overnight lows will be allowed to drop down as well. So our average high right now is around 82 degrees. Tomorrow it is going to be just a tad above normal. It will feel like the 90s with the humidity, but on Saturday and Sunday our highs will only be in the 70s, so it is going to be a little bit below normal, but it is going to feel so much more comfortable. Our future radar is showing increasing clouds during the day. Showers will start off at around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and then there could be a few thunderstorms that could bring some downpours and also very gusty winds. A marginal risk tomorrow for severe weather. I think the main threats will be damaging wind gusts, but we can't rule out some hail across much of our area. So here's a look at your rain forecast for Saturday night or Sunday. I should say Friday night into early Saturday, where we're finding a few showers that will last through the early morning hours, and then by the afternoon we should start to dry out, and it's going to start to feel a little bit more comfortable as well. We're going to see a little bit more sunshine by the end of the day on Saturday. But out ahead of the system, we're going to stay warm. Overnight lows close to around 70 degrees, and we do anticipate a few thunderstorms as well. Tomorrow there could be a few strong to severe thunderstorms moving in by the afternoon. Highs around 85 in Corning, 86 degrees in Elmira. We drop down into the 70s over the weekend with a lot more sunshine to go around, and then those temperatures will gradually warm up into the 80s by next week.
A 21-year-old mother in Utah is fighting for her life after giving birth through an emergency C-section last week after complications from COVID-19. She was among the 80% of pregnant women who are not vaccinated. The two leading organizations that represent specialists in obstetric care were recommending that patients consult with their doctor, then determine whether to get vaccinated. They changed that guidance on July 31st, now recommending that all pregnant women should get vaccinated. Debbie Worthen reports.
She is a stubborn, strong, vivacious young woman.
These were simpler times. A younger Grayson Bakes singing. I don't even recognize your face. nothing like this last week.
We are not thinking in terms of how long it's going to take her to get well. We're thinking in terms of her survival.
Tonight, Grayson and her newborn son Lennon are both in the hospital. Grayson is in the fight of her life. She came down with COVID last week. She was 34 weeks pregnant.
It's really such a day-to-day thing.
Grayson wasn't vaccinated, and she is not alone. Most pregnant women are not.
Our best estimates are about 20% of pregnant women in Utah are vaccinated.
It's not just Utah. That number is just slightly less than the national average of 22%.
This is a population of people, pregnant women, where it's understandable that people might be slow to adopt it, but there is enough information now that we really should be making that move and really pushing to get people vaccinated.
That recommendation change could have kept Grayson out of the hospital. Instead, she's on machines to help her breathe, maybe even unaware she has a son.
We are not confident that she is aware of what's going on.
The Bakes family has a strong message and hopes their story is enough to convince others.
Just get vaccinated and wear a mask. This is a small thing. It's a mask. This is you caring enough for yourself, for your family, and for others in your community to be cautious.
It's been a big talker lately. Several celebs saying they do not bathe their entire bodies every day. But is that good for your body and skin? In today's Health Minute, Mandy Gaither gets some answers from a dermatologist.
To wash or not to wash? Lately, that's the question after Ashton Kutcher, Mila Kunis, Dax Shepard, and other celebs have recently admitted they don't do full-body bathing every day.
Do you really have to bathe on a daily basis? The answer is no.
Dr. Susan Masick, a dermatologist at Ohio State University, says bathing depends on your circumstances. While it isn't necessary to clean yourself every day, if you exercise, work outdoors, or are in healthcare, you may want to wash off.
If you've noticed body odor, if you notice increase in the hair, those are very obvious reasons to want to bathe on a daily basis.
Dr. Masick says when you do bathe, don't use harsh cleaners that can irritate skin.
It's much better to use unscented, no fragrance, no perfumes, type of gentle cleansers. That's all you need when it comes to a type of soap or a way of cleaning the skin.
She says it's fine to rinse off most of the body with water, using soap only in the areas with glands.
That would be armpits, genital and private area, feet, and scalp.
When it comes to children, Dr. Masick says bathing too often isn't a good idea.
Their skin typically is a little bit more sensitive and a little more susceptible.
In the end, Masick says bathing is a personal choice and not all A-listers are alike. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson showing support on Twitter for Team Shower Every Day, tweeting he's the opposite of a not washing themselves celeb. For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
A mysterious marriage certificate, more than a century old, was found in a North Carolina thrift shop miles from home. A local news station did a story about it, and viewers tracked down the great-granddaughter of the couple on that marriage license. Peyton Furtado spoke with her and has this story.
While cleaning a picture frame, a Hope Chest thrift employee found a nearly 150-year-old marriage license nailed inside the back. It was so old, only the year, city, and couple's first names, William and Katie, were legible.
And this couple was married in New Jersey, and somehow the certificate found its way to a thrift store on Old Ocean Highway in Bolivia, North Carolina.
A unique find, so WWAY aired a story on the discovery. Not long after, while home in upstate New York, William and Katie DeWorth's great-granddaughter, Irene Cornish, decided to log into Ancestry.com on a whim.
I haven't been on Ancestry in quite a few months, but went on to research a family member on the other side, and I happened to notice I had these messages.
Messages from viewers who were able to track Cornish down. Though Cornish doesn't know how this love story began, she knows her great-grandmother Catherine Havey moved to America toward the end of the Irish potato famine. Her great-grandfather William DeWorth had his own ventriloquy and fire-eating acts, but some questions still remain. Now, though we don't know exactly why that marriage certificate was hidden in the back of that frame, we do know that according to Ancestry.com, William and Catherine had a child out of wedlock 2 years before their marriage certificate was filed. And how the frame wound up in North Carolina.
Sadly, the family homestead The person that inherited that in the family at one point basically sold everything that was in it to a local thrift shop and ultimately lost the homes.
Though the mystery isn't completely solved, Cornish says she feels more connected than ever to family she's only heard stories about.
When my mother passed away 5 years ago, I don't have any family, immediate family in the area where I live. So I feel a little isolated at times. And so it just felt comforting that, oh, these people are reaching out somehow. I am connected.
In Brunswick County, Peyton Furtado, WWAY News.
Pizza Hut is introducing a new plant-based pepperoni pizza. The restaurant chain has teamed up with Beyond Meat. The pepperoni is made from ingredients like peas and rice, with no GMOs, soy, gluten, hormones, antibiotics, or cholesterol. The new pizza is being tested for a limited time in 5 cities: Albany, New York, Columbus and Macon, Georgia, Houston, Texas, and Jacksonville, Florida. One of the largest employers in the Midwest is making some permanent changes inspired by the pandemic. 3M, which has some 90,000 employees, is moving to a fully hybrid system to allow for increased productivity and a better work-life balance. Susan Elizabeth Littlefield reports.
Minnesota-based 3M is going full throttle these days, making everything from respirators to Post-its to surgical equipment. But the Maplewood parking lot is a bit of a ghost town.
When the pandemic hit, we were all home working virtual remote.
And Jeannie Hoppy, operations specialist and mom of 3, is still working remotely with most of the 3M workforce.
I'm able to go to school activities. I'm able to go to my family's sporting events. I'm able to take my own dog for a walk.
As of this week, those perks will be permanent. The senior VP told us they are unveiling a new work your way model.
Is productivity affected by people working remotely?
What we've discovered is our employees are probably even more productive working from home, in that non-production environment.
3M has offered flexibility for years, but this new approach actually starts with the employee and what their desires are for their own workflow.
The new model means employees will tell their supervisors if they want to be remote, hybrid, or in the office, and together they will come up with a personalized plan.
It's not about where you are or how you're working, the number of hours you're putting in. It's about the work output that we agree together is important for us to get done.
She says it's a trust-based system, and the pandemic life slowdown has fast-tracked their employee appreciation.
The word that comes to mind is respected. I really feel like not only is my work product respected, but also the ability to have a successful and fulfilling life is respected.
We want to leave you with a smile tonight. Check this out. Believe it or not, this is a bike. Yeah, the face is the back of the bike. And that's not all. Every single part of this bike was made with a 3D printer. It took about 3 years to build. The guy who owns it is one of the stars of a popular cable show in South Dakota and decided to bring his ride to the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally as the best way to show it off. Now there is a catch. This monstrously cool bike is more for show and less for hitting the open road. Now that could definitely startle the dogs with their heads hanging out the window. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a great night.